She hid our life savings in a secret account and smiled like nothing happened. So I called my dad, took myself out of the will, and let karma strip away everything she built, until she showed up begging, saying, "You misunderstood. I still love you." I'm Mark. We'd been together 5 years, married for 2. July 12th, we sat in our usual corner at Mateo's. Everything felt ordinary, the kind of ordinary I trusted without thinking. Halfway through the meal, my phone buzzed. A bank alert. I didn't mean to look at it in front of her, but the subject line moved something in my chest. Flag transfer. I kept my voice low and clicked the message open. There it was, a wire out of our joint account, labeled to some company I'd never heard of, ER Holdings. The number hurt more than the words. I glanced up. Claire was laughing at something on her phone. Her thumb was a blur. She set it face down when the waiter came by, like she always did. I told myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe a business expense, a duplicate charge. I finished the bite I'd been chewing as if that would steady me. I asked about the transfer. She looked at me the way she always did when she wanted me to relax, the steady look I'd trusted for years. "Business stuff," she said. "I set it up months ago. We talked about it." We hadn't. The sentence landed between us and stayed. That night, I didn't sleep. I logged onto our account at 2 in the morning and followed the entries like a trail. There were monthly withdrawals, neat, consistent amounts, $8,000 at a time. The recipient was always the same LLC, registered in a different state. Receipts labeled consulting that matched hotel bookings in Miami. A scanned document with a notary stamp and a line that read, "Power of Attorney, Investment/Claire." And then a signature that looked disturbingly like mine. I didn't confront her that morning. Instead, I drove to a copy shop and printed everything in black and white. The copier's hum kept my hands from shaking. The receipts and statements looked small and ordinary on the page, but together they made a shape I couldn't ignore. I called my brother first, then my sister, voice low, explaining only what I could without my words turning to noise. I booked a lawyer consultation for late morning. At the office, fluorescent lights and a woman named Jenna handed me a pen and asked one question. Did I want to preserve the evidence? My answer was immediate. That afternoon, I went home and sat on the couch where we'd planned vacations and fought about paint colors. Rain began to patter at the windows, a steady, aimless rhythm. I put the printed pages on the coffee table between us like a stack of decisions. The air felt thick in a way that had nothing to do with the weather. Claire looked at the papers, then at me. For the first time since the marriage, her face registered something that wasn't performance. Her lips moved as if to say something soft. She reached for my hand. I jerked mine away like it burned. "It's complicated," she said. I didn't want complexity. I wanted honesty. I told her the words in a calm I had to force. She had drained our emergency fund, wired money while I worked, and signed things in my name. Her reaction tightened everything. She stood so quickly that a lamp nearly fell. For a moment, she snapped back at me, saying I'd been blind. That hurt more than the money. It was the way she tried to make me small for noticing. I packed a bag, not knowing what else to do. I took my laptop and the folder with the prints and left the rest behind. The toothbrush, the framed photos, the half-unread book on the nightstand. I drove until the highway lights looked familiar but distant and checked into a motel off I-95. At 1:12 a.m., I called my dad. The 30-minute conversation was steady and practical. He told me one thing that stuck: protect the estate. By morning, I was sitting in a lawyer's office again. Jenna explained options I hadn't thought of: temporary amendments, preservation orders, and ways to make sure money didn't move while the papers were sorted. The language was sterile, but the stakes felt raw. I signed forms that smelled of toner and finality, the kind of finality that makes the world tilt and then hold itself steady. 2 days later, Claire's lawyer called my father. I heard it through Jenna, the voice on the speaker trembling in a way I'd never heard from Claire. I learned she'd hired counsel. I learned she was panicking. My phone was filled with messages I didn't open. Please, I left them unread. That night, I sat in the motel and stared at the city lights. There was no dramatic music, no decisive blow, just the slow, strange relief of having seen and acted. The anger was there, but under it was something quieter, the sense that something I had relied on as truth had been taken apart. I didn't go back that night. After I left the apartment, the city felt thin and empty, like a photograph with the color turned down. I booked a room at a motel off I-95 and shoved the folder with the bank prints under my jacket. The rest of our life stayed behind. Half a bottle of wine in the fridge, a shirt on the chair, the calendar with the September trip circled. I did not want any of it to feel normal. At 1:12 a.m., I called my dad. His voice was steady, like a lighthouse. He asked me to read the statements aloud. He listened while I said the numbers and the dates, the company name I'd never heard before. He told me to breathe. Then he said, "Protect the estate." Those 3 words felt absurdly large in a motel room, but they were exactly what I needed to hear. By morning, I had an appointment with a lawyer. Jenna sat across from me with a binder and a calm way of speaking that made the words manageable. She explained options in plain terms. Preserve evidence, file for temporary amendments, stop any distributions that might be processed while we investigated. The forms smelled like toner and felt final when I signed them. It was the kind of finality you take for yourself before you allow the rest of the world to notice. Word moves fast. 2 days after Jenna filed the paperwork, Claire's lawyer called my father. I heard the exchange through Jenna later. Sharp sentences, then a pause that stretched too long. Apparently, Claire had hired counsel and was panicked when she learned I was serious. My inbox is filled with messages that read like someone trying to patch a leak with tissues. Please. I can explain. I messed up. Don't do anything yet. I did not respond. I stayed with a friend in Jersey for a while. The apartment I'd shared with Claire felt like a house I no longer had the key to. Friends made room. My phone stayed mostly silent except for the legal notices and the occasional check-in from family. I did not post anything. Social media felt like a stage where people pretended nothing was wrong, and I needed distance from that kind of pretending. Claire started showing up in small, awkward ways. A mutual friend posted photos from a barbecue, and she was there in the background, laughing at an angle that once belonged to me. An old Instagram picture got a comment that felt like a breadcrumb. Every sighting was a small, hot reminder that the person I thought I knew was still moving through the same neighborhood of life. Those moments stung more than the messages ever had. They were reminders that she had not simply vanished with the money. She was still choosing a life that intersected mine in ways I could not control. Her lawyer sent a demand for mediation. Jenna passed it along and explained what mediation usually meant: a structured conversation, paper on the table, both sides offering positions. My lawyer typed notes in a neat, professional way that made even betrayal look like a case file. I read the demand and felt something tighten in my chest. Mediation could be a path to answers. It could also be a stage for rehearsed remorse. I turned the question over and decided I wanted clarity, not choreography. I wanted the truth laid out plainly, not shaped by pleas or apologies that had been crafted under pressure. So I declined mediation. I did not want a strategy disguised as sincerity. I wanted distance and the chance to see what evidence actually showed without the theater of contrition. 2 weeks passed. Life found a new rhythm. I worked when I needed to and slept when exhaustion forced it. I saw a therapist a few times, simple sessions that helped me put names on feelings. My dad called more. He told me things about the family's paperwork I hadn't thought to check. Little practical tasks kept me moving forward: mail forwarding, closing accounts, and keeping receipts. It was boring work, oddly steady. It grounded me in a way anger never had. Then Jenna called with an update. She spoke slowly, the way you do when you are giving someone a result you can't soften. She looked shocked, Jenna said, like she didn't believe you'd actually go through with it. I let out a sound that was half disbelief and half something I could not name. The idea that Claire expected me to be predictable, quiet, forgiving, untroubled, felt like the last thing I needed to prove wrong. But the real twist was still ahead. When her lawyer delivered the bad news to her, she did something I didn't expect. When Jenna told me Claire had broken down after hearing the news, I didn't know how to react. Part of me expected it. The shock, the sudden panic when her safety net vanished. But another part of me, the smaller and quieter part, didn't feel triumph. Just a kind of tired relief. She looked lost, Jenna said over the phone. Not angry. Just like she didn't believe you'd actually go through with it. I thanked her for the update and hung up. Then I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. She really thought I'd stay the same. The man who always swallowed his doubts. The one who chose peace over confrontation. She didn't realize peace isn't silence. Sometimes, it's walking away without explaining yourself. 2 days later, she texted, "Please, Mark, let me explain everything in person." I didn't reply. Then she called. Then again. Then again. I muted her number. That Friday night, it was raining, steady and cold. I was at my friend Jake's apartment, watching a movie I wasn't really following. Around 9:15, the buzzer went off. Jake answered and came back with a strange look on his face. "She's outside," he said quietly. "Umbrella. Looks soaked. Says she just needs 5 minutes." I didn't want to see her, but I went anyway. She stood under the streetlight, holding a black umbrella that wasn't doing much good. Her hair was damp, her jacket clinging to her shoulders. When she saw me, her voice came out soft but urgent. "Mark, you're misunderstanding everything." I said nothing, just looked at her. "That money wasn't stolen," she said. "It was transferred." I cut her off. "To a shell company. Under a fake name. I've seen the records." Her jaw moved, but no words came out for a few seconds. Then she said, "It's not fake. It was for an investment, Something I started with a few people from my old job. It didn't go how I planned. I could feel the anger rise again, not like fire, but like a slow tide. Then why forge my signature? That stopped her. The rain filled the silence between us. Her mouth opened once, then closed. That single hesitation said everything. It wasn't supposed to be like that, she finally whispered. I just wanted to make more money for us. You've been working so hard, and I thought I could handle it. Handle it, I said quietly. You took $96,000 out of our account and lied to my face. You didn't handle it. You buried it. She started crying then. The kind of crying that sounds like panic more than pain. I was trying to help, she said. I didn't want to bother you with more stress. That line hit harder than I expected. Without bothering you. It summed up everything wrong between us. The secrets, the quiet justifications, the way she always turned guilt into pity. Jake opened the door behind me, holding a mug of coffee, confusion written all over his face. Everything okay out here? He asked. I looked at her, then at him. No, I said. Nothing about this is okay. Claire took a step forward, her voice shaking now. Mark, I love you. Please. I can fix this. I swear I can fix this. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked back toward the building. The sound of the rain swallowed her voice behind me. Inside, Jake didn't ask questions. He just handed me the mug and sat beside me on the couch. For a few minutes, we watched the movie again, pretending it mattered. But I wasn't really there. It's strange. People always imagine revenge as loud and dramatic. But in reality, it's quiet. It's the calm that comes after you finally stop trying to make someone understand what they never valued. That night, I realized something. It wasn't the money that broke us. It was the idea that I would always forgive her. That belief had been her safety net, and I had finally cut it. As I lay awake, the city outside our window humming, I didn't feel angry anymore. Just done. 2 months passed. The noise had faded. No more calls, no more midnight knocks at the door. I'd moved back into my old apartment in Hoboken, same street, different place. The walls were bare, and the place echoed when I walked, but at least it was mine. I started therapy. Nothing heavy, just once a week to untangle the mess that had wrapped itself around my head. My dad called often, sometimes to check on me, just to talk baseball or weather. He never said her name, and I appreciated that. Then one afternoon, I opened my mailbox to find a thick envelope from her attorney. Marital mediation, it said in careful black type. Inside was a polite letter asking me to meet, to seek understanding and mutual resolution. I didn't need understanding. I needed distance. Jenna, my lawyer, called that evening. You don't have to respond, she said. Mediation's voluntary. If you want closure, we can handle it legally, not emotionally. That was exactly what I wanted. No stage, no performance. Just closure. A week later, another envelope arrived, but this time it wasn't typed. It was handwritten, her handwriting, looping and neat, like she used to write shopping lists on Sunday mornings. You think I betrayed you, but I was trying to build something for us. I made mistakes, yes, but not the ones you think. I still love you. Please don't erase me like this. For a moment, I almost believed her. There was something so familiar in those curves of ink that it made my chest tighten. But then I remembered the documents, the false signature, the nights she said, "You worry too much," when I'd ask about bills. That note wasn't love, it was damage control. I folded the paper once and set it in a drawer I rarely opened again. 6 months later, the world had started to feel normal again. I was sleeping better. I'd stopped checking bank alerts every morning. My life was quiet, not perfect, but steady. Then one day, a friend sent me a message. Hey man, check this out. Recognize her. Attached was a screenshot from Instagram. Claire. Champagne glasses clinking. A city view behind her. A hand, not mine, holding hers. The caption read, "Some people will never understand your vision. That's okay." I stared at it for a long moment, then laughed. It wasn't bitter, not really. More like a sigh that had been waiting months to come out. She looked like herself again, polished, distant, a little too composed. I recognized the pattern. She'd moved on. And honestly, so had I. That night, I poured a drink, sat on the balcony, and realized something strange. I didn't feel hate anymore. I didn't even feel sadness. Just quiet. The kind that feels earned. For the first time in a long while, I didn't need closure. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even need her apology. Because karma had already started its work, silently, patiently. Winter. 8 months later. My dad forwarded me an email early one morning. It was from Jenna. Subject line, case update. Claire's lawyer had officially withdrawn her claim. No explanation, no follow-up. Just gone. She'd settled her debts, sold off some assets, and disappeared from the paperwork like a shadow pulled from the wall. I didn't know whether to feel pity or peace. Maybe both. Karma doesn't always crash in like thunder. Sometimes it whispers, "We're done here." For a while, I thought that was the end of it. But peace has a way of testing you when you least expect it. One evening, almost a year after I'd left, I saw her name again. Not a call, not a text, an email. Subject line, "Please, just one conversation." I hovered over it for a full minute before opening it. "Mark, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But please, I need you to understand. I lost everything. The business collapsed. The man I trusted stole from me. I'm facing charges, and I can't sleep knowing you still hate me. I never stopped loving you." I read it twice. Then a third time. No apology. Just desperation dressed up as regret. Still, one sentence stuck out. "I'm facing charges." It wasn't the karma I had imagined. It was the kind that works slowly, stripping away every illusion you once hid behind. A few days later, Jake called. "You won't believe who I saw last night," he said. "Claire." Outside a law office. She looked rough, man. Real rough. I didn't reply right away. I just stirred my coffee and said quietly, "She's getting what she built." He didn't say anything after that, and neither did I. But that night, her last line echoed in my head. "I never stopped loving you." It wasn't love. It was lost while wearing a mask, and I was finally free from both. 2 weeks after Jake mentioned seeing her outside that law office, she showed up in person. No warning, no message beforehand. Just appeared at my office one afternoon like a ghost that finally found the courage to knock. The receptionist buzzed me. "There's a woman here," she said, her tone uneasy. "Says it's urgent." When I stepped into the lobby, I barely recognized her. Claire looked smaller somehow, not in size, but in presence. Her hair was pulled back messily, her makeup faint and uneven. The confident woman who used to walk into any room like she owned it was gone. I told her we could talk for 5 minutes. No more. We sat on the benches near the front windows. She didn't meet my eyes at first. Her hands twisted the strap of her purse, her nails short and unpainted, a detail that once would have been unthinkable for her. "Mark," she said softly, "I didn't mean for any of it to happen like that." I kept my tone even. "You forged my name, moved money behind my back, and lied for months. It didn't happen. You did it." Her voice cracked slightly. "I thought I could make things better. I invested with someone. He promised I'd double it. I thought if it worked, I could surprise you, maybe help us get ahead. But he—" "Stop," I interrupted. "You always have a but. But it was for us. But someone tricked you. There's always a but. When do you just say I did it?" She finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired, wet but calm. "I did it," she said. "I ruined everything." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I had imagined this moment so many times, her admitting it, finally owning it. But standing there, it didn't feel like victory. Just quiet. She reached into her purse and pulled something out. A small silver keychain, worn at the edges. It was the one I'd bought her on our honeymoon in Charleston, engraved with our initials. "I kept this," she said, her voice breaking a little. "Not for the memory. For the guilt." I looked at it, then at her. "Guilt doesn't fix anything," I said. "And forgiveness isn't a way back into someone's life." Her shoulders sagged. "I know," she said. I wanted you to know I lost everything. The job, the house, the business. Even the man I thought I could trust. He took what was left. There was no satisfaction in hearing that. Only a strange kind of peace. Like the story had finally finished telling itself. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I really am." I nodded. "I hope you find a way to rebuild. But not with me." Her lips trembled slightly. "You really don't hate me?" I shook my head. "No. Hate takes effort. I stopped caring long before you realized what you lost." For a moment, she sat still, as if those words were sinking in. Then she stood, whispered a soft goodbye, and walked toward the door. I didn't watch her leave. I just listened to the sound of her heels fading down the hall until it disappeared completely. That was the last time I saw her. 1 year later, life moved on quietly. I got engaged to Harper, someone calm, steady, and kind. We bought a small condo on the edge of town. Sunlight poured into the kitchen every morning, the way it used to in the old apartment. But this time it didn't feel heavy. My dad came over for Sunday lunch one afternoon. We talked about work, the wedding, and the fact that I'd finally stopped double-checking every bank statement. At one point, while pouring himself coffee, he said, "You know that woman who caused all that trouble? Heard she's working at some small design firm upstate. Keeps to herself now." I just nodded and smiled. Good. Maybe she finally learned what peace looks like. That night, I sat on the balcony with Harper, watching the sun go down. The sky turned the same color as the wine Claire and I used to drink on Fridays. Only this time, the memory didn't sting. Karma hadn't destroyed her. It didn't need to. It simply taught her what she took for granted. The kind of love that doesn't come back once you've broken trust beyond repair. Sometimes, revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's silence, a steady life, and the peace of knowing you no longer need an apology. And that was enough.